This video will show you how to calculate an iron-carbon phase diagram using the graphical mode of Thermo-Calc. The calculation is based on example T3 of the examples included in your software. However, I will show you how to build the calculation so that you can customize it by selecting your database, configurations, and settings. If you want to access the example as it is, go to the Help menu, Examples Files, Thermo-Calc, and double-click on example file T3. To begin, open Thermo-Calc in the graphical mode. There are two simple ways to calculate a binary phase diagram, and I'll show you both. The easiest way is to use the binary calculation template. Simply click on the binary calculation button. All the nodes you need will appear in the project pane, and the calculation will largely configure itself. All you have to do is select your database and elements. From the Database drop-down menu, select the FE Demo database. If you have an older version of Thermo-Calc, use the pturn database, and if you're doing your own calculation, select the database you need. Next, I'll select the elements iron and carbon. Under Calculation Type, make sure Phase Diagram is selected. Now select Calculate Phase Diagram at the bottom center of the program. Once the calculation is complete, your plot will appear in the results pane, but I'll show you the second way to complete the calculation before we look at the plot. Click the My Project node, then select the Phase Diagram template. Notice that 3 nodes appeared for this calculation rather than 2. This is because this method gives you more freedom to configure your calculation, but it is not as quick as the first method. With this method, you must configure each node. Start by selecting the System Definer. Here we'll select our database and elements, just as before. Click on the Database drop-down menu and select the FE Demo database, or whichever database you are using. Next, select the elements iron and carbon again. The system is now defined, so click on the Equilibrium calculator to set the conditions. This is where this method gives you more freedom than the first method, because we can set temperature, pressure, system size, and composition. We'll use the default values for all the conditions, but you can change these values if you're working on your own calculation. However, the values must be within the range listed under Axis definitions, so change that range if you need to. You can also change the units for temperature, pressure, and so on, and you can change the composition unit. Next, we need to select our calculation type, so make sure Phase Diagram is selected. Finally, we need to set the axes to mass percent and temperature. Our calculation is now configured, so select Perform Tree at the bottom center of the program. Once the calculation is complete, a second plot will appear in the results pane. This plot is the same as the first one, but looks different because the temperature scale is different and there are fewer tie lines. You can change the number of tie lines by selecting Plot Renderer, changing the number of tie lines, and clicking Perform again. This plot shows you the stable iron-carbon phase diagram. Stable meaning that the graphite phase is entered in the calculation and is represented here at 100 mass percent. To see the composition at any temperature, simply hover your mouse anywhere on the plot. A tab will accompany your mouse showing the stable phases, the mass percent carbon, and the temperature. To see the exact composition, right-click on the plot, select Add Label, then Show Details. Here you can see, for example, which phases are in equilibrium and the composition of each phase. You can also change the text at the top if you want to create a specific label for the graph. When you select OK, a label will be added to the plot showing which phases are in equilibrium at that point. You can also change the title and rename the axes by right-clicking on the plot and selecting Properties. When you're done, select OK. You can export the contents of the plot in a variety of formats by right-clicking on it and selecting Save As. Your labels and title will save with your image. You can go back and change the configuration at any time to run a new calculation. You can also add additional equilibrium calculators and plot renderers if you want to create additional calculations and compare the results. Each calculation will receive its own tab in the results pane. You can save the entire project to return to it later or share it with others by clicking File, Save Project As. We hope you find this example useful. We have many other videos available on our website at www.thermocalc.com.